great work teaching English. I'm a math person, so I'm in awe of all the English things that y'all do and everything. So when trying to think about what to talk to y'all about was hard because y'all have been doing interventions for a long time, you've been teaching English for a long time. I've seen the things you do, I've had you in 504s, I hear the things that you do, so you really do everything right. So this is not kind of from that aspect of teaching strategy so much as just from more of a counseling perspective of maybe what the students are dealing with on their end and the job on top of reaching their reading levels that you're encountering, type of thing. So it does says creating the transformation, and really, I love the fact that y'all have the intervention class for the ninth graders before they have failed something in high school. I think that that's amazing. That's really great. And in that class, you have the opportunity to really transform your mind from being stagnant to having that growth and having that success. And that's what happens when you can do an intervention ahead of time. So this is just kind of thinking about that particular process with them. So when thinking about an at-risk student, are y'all really familiar as to why the kids become at-risk and things like that? Okay, great.
They have all those little big checklists that they meet certain.
Right, they meet their criteria. So the thing about high school at-risk students, those criteria really affect them for the rest of their life, for them. So whereas in elementary school, they could be at risk because they didn't do well on their TPRI screener, or their reading fluency level wasn't very good at that time, but that could change. And then you're no longer at risk anymore. And really at risk is basically saying, you're at risk of failing the biggest, first hurdle of life, high school. I mean, that's their first hurdle, and that's what we're saying, like, you could possibly fail ahead of time. And for them in high school, with being pregnant, becoming a parent, having gone to DAP, having gone to jail, having CPS in their life, or becoming a foster parent, a foster kid, those are things that are lifelong. Like, even though it may have been one incident, it's not an incident you ever forget. I've got plenty of kids who were low readers, and I don't remember what it was like. My fluency was only on a D, and now I'm on a G. They don't, that's not going to stay with them for the rest of their life. But I went to alternative schools. It's going to stay with them for the rest of their life. I was in juvie. That's going to stay with them the rest of their life. I have a kid. That's with you for the rest of your life, that type of thing. So with them having these huge factors happen for them, it does create a thought pattern in their brain of little success. And so that's what you're kind of coming up against when they're walking into your room as a ninth grader. They don't have a lot of success in their life, or they've had very little. So they don't know what it really feels like on a consistent basis. And I think that that's just great that y'all are coming in to transform it. And so I just want to be here to kind of help, collaborate on ideas on how to make sure that that transformation's happening and not just the academic piece. Because they could raise their reading level, but still have that stagnant mindset.
Do they know that they have that at-risk label on them?
They don't know, but their subconscious knows. It's almost like their subconscious usually knows. So we don't ever tell a child that they're at risk, but they know that they're the kid that has all the meetings, or they're the kid that everyone's always telling me I got to stay after school and do tutorials, or they're the kid that everyone's telling me that, oh, come on, you got to do better, or you got to do better, you got to do better. And so we embed it way before they even get here to you. When I say we, because I used to be at elementary, it's embedded in them way before they come to you that whatever you've been providing is not enough, and there's more that you need to give. And so that's a huge weight that they're just walking in here with. And some of them don't even realize that they're carrying it. They've masked it in humor, they've masked it in being outburstful, they've masked it in being angry all the time, and don't realize that that's because you literally spent 8 years of your life with someone constantly pushing you to do more. Come on, you can do more, you can do more, you need to do more for it. So when we look at low reading levels for kids, we're really looking at for them, or these are some of the hurdles you have to think about. They've been getting by for 8 years not reading well in their mind. So it does not seem to be a necessity right now to them. What's the point? I've been doing it all this time. Someone's gonna pass me on. And then they hit here and it's like, nobody's gonna pass you on. You really do have to achieve this. on your own, and that is huge for them, because I'll be honest, in elementary, yeah, they're probably gonna get passed on. You know, we're gonna keep working with them and keep doing things, and we're gonna keep moving them forward, but they don't have anything that's gonna stop them from moving from kindergarten to first grade, or first grade to second grade, really, because your reading is not up to par. We're still just working at it. In fifth grade, they have SSI. That's the first time they hit that hurdle where reading really is a big deal, but at the same time, their hormones are big, or their bodies are big. So there's so many things that they're like, eventually, someone's gonna say you can move forward. And if they do say you can't, they can only do it one time. So they've kind of figured this system out. What's the point? Why do I really have to work hard to do it? And then you have this cycle breaking that you have to do in the ninth grade, and they don't always see a need. They may have parents or siblings or relatives that do not read well, but appear to them to be doing okay. And that's hard to break that cycle. So I put a picture of a chain there because that's really what it is. It's kind of like locked bound chains on them that's gonna keep them right where they are. And whereas we think of a cycle going around and around in a circle, and you're just going around in the circle, it really is binding to them, because they're constantly gonna go home and see someone. You got food, you got clothes, you look like you bought what you wanted, and you didn't do well in school. So what's the point? And they're still at that stagnant mindset where they don't have the ability to think about what life could be differently. Like, we can see it, but we've also tasted it, or we read things, or we've aspired to things. We have so many things that we do to feed our knowledge that's beyond just our everyday life. And that feeds our fantasies, that feeds our desires, and that helps us create new goals and bigger goals. So it's not just what we see every day. They're not doing that, especially if they're low in their reading levels. They're definitely not reading, books about different things that are showing them. They're gonna look at pictures, they're gonna listen to people, but their everyday world is gonna tell them most of what they're going to want to achieve. So that's important to think about. You're really trying to break through some chains for them, and stop a cycle right here in the ninth grade. So with that comes low levels of frustration and grit, which all aware of probably grit. They don't have a lot of it. My generation didn't have a lot of it, millennials, and going down beyond that. It's just one of those things to be taught, where it used to be very intrinsic, and you get it. It's one of those things they have to be taught now. And in the ninth grade, they really have to be taught it if they're going to move forward, especially with the coursework that's given here at school. So, with all that being said, most of them need some type of buy-in, but the buy-in isn't necessarily in the way of the lessons. So you guys all know about engaging lessons and engaging kids and doing all of those things. Yes, that's important. But there's this extra piece of anecdotal buy-in. And the kids need it because they don't always read. They have found unique ways to increase their verbal processing. They need the stories. They need the engagement of, well, you had a student that was hard, like, make it up. It doesn't matter if it was real or not, but they need that. That's what they held on to, and probably that's how they're taught at home. They're not taught at home through actual reading of stories. Like, I read to my son at night, and we talk about the story, and he has that piece. But my cousins, who are low socioeconomic, not good in school, we live totally separate lives, all they're gonna do is talk to their kid. And that's how he's getting all of his knowledge. That's how he's getting all of his lessons. So he's really become very mature in that aspect, whereas my son, his verbal processing is not always that great. His reading's great, he can get it that way. But if I just tell him the story, tell him what he needs to do, nah, it's gone. But the other child, it is. So, and for my cousins, that's how they get it. They need me to tell them, they need me to tell a story, they need me to prove it to them in somebody's life or something of that nature, and it's something that is engaging to them, and they will hold on to the stories that I told them as opposed to whatever it is that I showed them in the law and the line, whatever we're talking about. So they need that type of buy-in, so that has to be embedded in the class to just kind of help them connect to what they're used to at home, because you're providing them something that is unfamiliar to them, trying to improve their reading levels, trying to make them read text that they're not used to, trying to make them increase their fluency, and they don't understand, why do I need to increase this fluency? Why do I really need to increase this comprehension? When am I gonna really read something this dense or of that nature in life? We know they will, or hope they will, get to that point, that they will. Then they're also needing anecdotal buy-in for their real life versus consequences versus benefit. So being able to show them there is a consequence, even though it looks like life is good, here was the consequence. Here was that catch that they didn't read, whether it be contracts for your people who think they're gonna be sports all the time, whether it be the kids that are thinking that they're just going to skirt by with their minimum wage job. There are kids who just feel like that's their life goal. Like, I just had a student, life goal, be a waiter. That seems pretty good. That's what I wanna do. Yeah, and that's how I look. I'm like, no, that's not life goal. It's like temporary to get to something else while I'm working on something else. But that was it, because they can see that in someone else and they think that that's good. So trying to show them that there are real consequences to not achieving this. There are real life benefits. And then the goal setting of planting a seed, because they're used to storytelling, you could go ahead and project a life goal on them. Some of them don't have one. They don't know where to start. So there's nothing wrong with you projecting one. Like, oh my gosh, I see you, and I could totally see that you are going to be, we do it all the time, you're gonna be a lawyer, the way that you could just argue me down, but we're gonna have to work on reading this part, because I wanna make sure that you write a contract to get all your money in. You're projecting a goal for them. Whether they blow you off in that moment, they're gonna think about the fact, could I really be a lawyer? Could I really be something that nobody else in my family has been, or that I have not seen? So it's important to constantly take the skills that you see, project a goal back to them, and help them just start thinking about new things they've never thought about. So the other piece is, you have some kids that just need a benefit right now. So why should they improve right now? Let them know ahead of time. You're not gonna do well in those cool courses that you keep seeing everyone take. That you need to have this reading well. You need to do well. You're not gonna be able to get the college credit right now if you're not able to do that. And for some of them, it's the real immediate. It is the release periods. Like, there's nothing wrong with giving them that tangible nugget right now. You don't like being here for 8 hours out of a day. So we need to start now so that you can have a goal of not being here 8 hours out of a day. For us, it's like, but there's so much more at stake for them, yes, but they can't see that far. They can only see maybe the next 3 years, maybe, and that's their junior year. Some of them can see the next 4, but if they're really struggling and they're in a cycle in itself, they're not seeing past graduation if they're looking at graduation. They may even be seeing just only to Christmas, and then realize they have to take you again. So that might be all that they're looking at. So it's really important to go ahead and let them know that there's a true benefit with them. So some of your kids are dealing with social emotional factors. You're well aware: ADHD, anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, and just stagnant mindset. They're dealing with that. Growth mindset is not something that all students take hold of. They don't. So they have to have really small successes in order to move forward with that. So even if you have a mixture of mental health students in your classroom, the next slides that we're talking about will help each one of them feel secure. Because you could go crazy trying to, I do this for my ADHD kids, I do this for my depressional kids, I do this for my anxiety kids, and now you have anxiety because you're trying to do this for everybody kid, and so that's not working out well. So creating an environment of success and failure helps give everybody security. That gives everyone security. An environment of success and failure is gonna help a child with ADHD stay focused on something, small goals, okay? With anxiety children, it gives them this overarching, like, oh, okay, I can do this. now I can do this. And so they just feel secure in like just taking a nugget at a time. And with children with depression or lacking motivation, it's gonna boost the increase that when they made the success, maybe I should try the next one, okay? So you'll take care of all of them with this particular idea of success. So when you create some small successes, that's important. So you guys see the picture, right? The chalkboard picture? And I was just telling my friends, so the chalkboard picture is what school projects. Have a vision, have a goal, make a plan, do the actions, achieve success, way there, top of the ladder. Good job. And I told my friend, I was like, I hate that ladder. I never think about that ladder. I think about the other one. Get to work, keep on working, do not stop working. Successful. That's my ladder, you know? And I'm a teacher, I've been a teacher, I'm a counselor, I'm working on my doctorate, but that chalkboard is not in my idea, but that's what the kids feel like, and it seems so broad and so hard to achieve. But it's not a success unless it's actually celebrated. And that's in their mind. And it's the same for us too if we really think about it. When I am at home and I'm doing all of the things that I'm doing, and like I said, I go to school, I work, and we all hear people do that, and the first thing we say, oh my gosh, that is so much, that is amazing. That's what we say to people. But to that person, they're like, it's not amazing, because I didn't finish it. It's not amazing because I haven't done it. But when someone tells me that that's amazing, they're all celebrating about it, well then I'm like, maybe it is a little amazing. Maybe it is some type of success. Maybe it is something that I need to think about. So when you have a lot of children that have had little success in their life, it really is important to celebrate all those things that for us seem like the day-to-day that you do. Like, yep, I got to work. So if someone's celebrating me getting to work, which that'd be great. And really, now that I'm here with the team, they kind of celebrate when all of us walk in. They're like, hey, good morning. How you doing? And I
I'm
was
glad
like,
you're here today.
Yeah.
For those kids that are, struggle to make it
So
someday.
I was like, hey y'all, I'm getting to work. I told my husband, I get to work a little bit earlier at the high school than at the elementary school, because when I got to work at the elementary school, it's just me, I'm the only counselor there. There wasn't a lot of celebration. It was like, yep, got here, got in office. It's just me. So it works for anybody, any mindset, anyone, to just celebrate a success that they had, that they did. And so when you're looking at them moving forward, it will help create a motivational incentive. I want to feel that again. I want to feel your excitement about me again. I want to do that again. And so there's going to move them forward. And then having group type success is important. So you have to orchestrate it though. We have to celebrate it. And then we have to make sure that it's visually there to remind them. Because you have to remember, they don't have a habit of being successful. So they need something to remind them to see. So it's kind of like when you're taking new medicine. I don't know if any of y'all are like this. I'm at this, so when I take new medicine, I have to leave it on the counter. So I see the pill bottle, so that I remind myself to take it. I need a visual reminder to do something new. So if success is not my habit, then they need that visual reminder that you were successful. And here's the next thing we're gonna do. That you were good. Now we're moving forward and moving forward. They don't have to have necessarily a tangible reward. They could. But if you celebrate well and you're like, that gets it for them, then that's fine. If you find that they need something, these kids lack emotional maturity. So still, the things that we use in elementary school works for them. Stickers, amazing, that works for them. Gel pens, things like that. Because we want them to be mature, because high school moves so fast, we forget that they lack that maturity. They don't have it. And because they have been just moving along, achievement will create maturity in children, but these children have not had a lot of achievement.
The day before Thanksgiving break in our luncheon, I gave them just time to relax. And you know what they wanted to play? Heads Up, 7 Up.
Yep.
I was stunned. And we played Heads Up, 7 Up, and the hardest kids were giggling and laughing and playing Heads Up, 7 Up.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Like they just don't have it. And so it's easy to create some type of reward, but to be able to post it and show it to them, and do the celebrations at random. Like you can't do them at a set time. It's always at the end of the 6 weeks, or it's always at the end of the week that we look at this. If they hit the achievement, celebrate for that kid, make the class aware, and then, you know, they continue on, especially if they're at different pacing. But this helps extinguish procrastinating achievers. We have kids that will do that. They'll wait to see if it's worth it or not. So if you go ahead and do it at random and it's based on every single person, it's gonna stop them from just waiting and underachieving all this time and make them go ahead and move forward. So looking at your kids as well, you have some combative students. The first picture with the dude in each other's face, yeah, that's what I usually think about when I'm thinking about a combative student. But the second picture is the one that usually flies under our radar. And these are the kids that are compliant, they're quiet, and they are making some progress, but they're not reaching their full potential. And that's a combative student. They're not willing to take the risk to go further. They're not willing to move forward and be higher than what they're at. And we have to make sure to capture those kids, because they're the ones that will just stay at mediocre level, this was good enough, and they're missing out on so much more that they can do. And so with a combative student, you're really looking at a kid who's just afraid to fail. So either I'm gonna argue you down, or I'm gonna outright refuse, because I don't wanna fail. Or I'm just gonna do the level that I know I can be successful at, so I don't fail. It's one of those things. I have a brother-in-law who, brilliant, he's a genius. He is a medical tech, he went to TSTC, he's got a good life, he makes more money than me, but his brilliance could have let him go on and been a doctor and have great scholarships. But his biggest thing is fear of failure. So he only ever did the things that he knew he could already do. And even now, when we ask him, and he's very handy, is I'll say, can you come and fix, you know, something in our attic electric-wise? And he'll be like, let me see if I know how to do that first. Like, he won't come try it. It's not dangerous, it's not life-threatening or anything. You have the skill set, but he has to know that he can do it and be successful before he will attempt it. And so that's the type of combative behavior for him. And we have to find a way for them to understand that you can fail and it's not bad, that you can learn from your failures and move forward and be better and reach your potential. So in creating the environments where failing is learning, you sometimes have to make the examples of yourselves. And so some of you probably already do this, I don't know, but creating your own failures for yourself, like I sometimes plan a failure so that it would be a big deal and the kids can see it. And that way then it starts creating this thing, or post your failures, their failures too, and this is what I learned. You know, not just that it was bad, but this is what I learned from it and moving forward. And so all in all you're really doing is making a transformation. So you're taking them from this first sign, where success and failure are opposite roads, and you're transforming their brain in 9th grade so that success and failure take you in the same direction together. So then they are achieving, yes, it's a struggle, but it's okay, this is how I learned from it, and it doesn't mean one or the other, because that's all they know right now. It's one or the other. One's harder, I never seem to get there. One's easier, I'm always there, they're telling me I always need to do more. But they're not exclusive of each other. And so, I mean, that's really what y'all do in your classroom, but just to, if you help create the incentive parts and the moving forward with them and just reminding yourself to project goals to them because they can't see them, then that helps them as they're going older and gaining that maturity to look back and be able to start their goals in 10th and 11th, on and so forth. So my last question though is like, is there anything that I can do in my position to help like that for you all? I'm a counselor, so I don't even get to come out and talk to teachers a lot. So thank y'all for letting me come counselor so much. But you know, what could you use from me in order to help create that and help make that transformation happen, especially in freshmen, you know, because they're just beginning here. Anything?
How do you teach grit? Because like you said, sort of our generation, it's inborn, it's driven within us. How do you teach that to someone?
Most times that I have found just in counseling sessions, because it's usually in group sessions that we talk about grit, because it's hard in the classroom, it's creating that teamwork environment amongst the kids. So it's not something that's gonna necessarily come from you to them. It's gonna come from them being connected to each other. So when you have the group projects with the students, they'll work on their group projects together and things like that. That's great. That's one piece of it, because then they feel the weight of, if I don't continue forward with these people, they all go down, and nobody wants everyone to go down. So that's then a grade level. But if you're creating it just in your classroom of a teamwork ability, of all of us achieving this together, all of us going together, they will then notice, okay, I've got to encourage that person, and so my encouragement to you is gonna help plant the seed of grit. So it has to come externally, it doesn't come internally to them. So me constantly saying, come on, you did a lot better today, let's go, come on, you did great today, come on. That is gonna start helping them to create a voice in their head that's gonna tell them, you did better, you could go a little further, you did better, you could go a little further, and it creates it. But work is sometimes always so separated in class, or it doesn't have time to create those connections as teamwork all together, especially once you hit high school. It's like, we gotta get through here, we gotta get this content and get it going. So if you have students that are create like accountability partners in class, creating ideas of, you only get to share your failures in class, so they don't have to share any grades or anything like that, but we have set time on every Wednesday or whatever that you have to share a failure and how it worked out, and that same failure is gonna come back up the next week. And now you're gonna have to tell them about the next thing you did, or they can write about it and, share journals, English, right?
Yeah.
Right. So share journals with each other, but then the other person has to write a note of encouragement, or a note of something else to try. Because right now, without the external voice, you don't create the internal voice. It's like a baby, so to speak. So all of y'all probably have your mom's voice in your head at some point, right? Yeah, a little bit. At some point, you hear it, because they said it to you so many times. You hear that voice whenever you need it. But if you never have the input, it's not gonna be created within themselves. So it's just making those opportunities for them to have the external input, because these kids have lacked it. They haven't had enough of that outside input of motivating, of going forward. Your athletes get it easier because the coach is constantly talking to them. There's nobody that coaches that doesn't constantly say things to them. So then when they're on the field by themselves and you can't hear anybody, it's constantly running in their head. And as you get older, that voice changes from the external person to you. And it kind of moves forward. But yeah, it's not like we try to teach it in lessons. We really do. I mean, I've been a part of the lessons, but it's very ineffective if you don't have that constant input of the motivator for them. Because sometimes I like grit. I know what the book said, but I don't feel it, So I need that external person to come on. And
There's a
do
cool
that.
TED Talk about grit. I showed it last year. It's like I don't know, like a 7-minute TED Talk
Mhm.
about it. And I've let kids watch it before, or I've just watched it before too. It's cool.
Mhm. That's great.
I have a student that I'm struggling with, and I've been talking with mom, and we had a good conversation last night. And it turns out that the kid likes me, but doesn't want to learn, typical child. So when I'm constantly encouraging him to produce and do, as kind as I try to be, it is hitting a raw nerve on him. So I was talking to mom last night how we can get past this. And she asked me a question. She says, I don't mean to be rude, but how old are you? And I'm like, I don't care, I'm 55. And she says, I wonder if he sees you like his grandma. And I'm like, okay, explain this. And she says, because grandma's always saying, read, 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 do, do, do. And he gets annoyed at it. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And my mom says she's real hard. She works with juvenile delinquents, so she has a tendency to be really rough.
Mhm.
And he responds better to rough. And I'm like, well, if you want me to treat him like that, you're gonna have to call my boss and say, Mrs. Freston's gonna be really mean to my son, and I approve of this. And I'm like, I said, I'll stand on my head and do whatever I need to do. But then I was talking to her and I said, my son just verbalized something to me that he couldn't verbalize when he was a kid. And I said, I was actually thinking of your son, wondering if this is the same thing. My son said, when I was in high school, I saw myself as mature and a man, and I really resented when you treated me like a child, telling me to do things like a child. And he said, I rebelled against it. He goes, I know, I was 14, I was a kid, and and I said, I was thinking about your son when my son was telling me this, and I was like, how can I change what I've been doing? What are your answers to that? Give me something tangible that I can do. Do you have anything? Have you thought about something?
I'd probably have to think on it a little bit more on the fact that because he thinks he's so mature.
And Mom said possibly, but I think she might have hit the head on the nail. I think I remind him of Grandma.
Then I would probably ask just a little bit more information on what aspects of it, of Grandma, that he likes, because he likes you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is it that he does do with Grandma? Or that it just might be if learning's not where he thinks his goals in life are at. So I don't know what his goals are, so that's also something to find out. What do you think you planned on
He
doing?
wants to play basketball.
Uh-huh.
He sees himself as a basketball star.
Basketball.
I know, and I told him, I don't want to burst his bubble, but the chances are slim.
Chances are, and really, he wants to be a man. He thinks he's mature and they understand that life, and to be honest, I've had sophomore conference and a freshman conference, right? So my kids were little kids, and then I had middle school kids that I have counseled, and right at middle school, they think they're gonna be the star. And even if it was 7th grade, 8th grade, I would bust that bubble and say, most of them don't make it, and who's reading the contract for you? Because if I was reading it for you, I'd make sure it said that your manager gets 20%, where normally it's like 10 or 15, and you're not gonna read it, so I'm gonna take your money. So now what are you gonna do? No, I'm not gonna do. Really?
That's what I told him.
You can even flip it though, let them go ahead and go after that dream.
Mhm.
Let them believe that that's what they're gonna do, but then do exactly what you said.
This
It's
is where the
tied
life
to it.
is. Yeah.
I would say, you
so-
got money, someone's gonna be trying to take that money away from you, you need to think.
Because there's too many stars and athletes. The one great thing that the world has done with us with social media and all the news and everything, you can see everybody's screw ups. Like I said, anecdotal
That's true.
storytelling, real life things, you get to see all of those things for them. And if he's gonna bust his bubble, it's gonna make him all mad and everything, and then when they get to that cool down period, that's when you can come back in as a teacher and say, but I don't want that to happen to you, so I have the secrets. Do you want the secrets or not? That's your choice. That's your choice. I am here, that's what you guys are providing them, life roadmaps, life secrets. It's free. I don't know why they feel like it's not, but it is. And you're giving it to them, but sometimes I don't know I need a key until I see that someone showed me the door was locked. You know? So it's not to tell him he can't make it, you know, it's to say, but these are the things that tied to that. Are you gonna be able to handle that? Are you gonna be able to do that? But I would also see what it is that he actually does with his grandmother, and it just might be that because he sees you like someone else, he's been missing that piece. Like, could you do this too? And now I'm open to it, cause now your whole